Hello, as promised, here is my review of Age of Ultron. Now, I will be expanding this into a second video, which will be my overall review of all the Marvel films. I'll rank the Marvel films in order. For now, this is my review. I saw Age of Ultron at the midnight showing on Wednesday, and here's my initial thoughts. I'm going to try not to ruin the film, to explain all the film, but there may be spoilers in here, so be aware. Especially if you don't know any of the rumours or anything about the film in advance, there may be spoilers. In my previous video, I postulated that the Marvel Universe was in danger of either pissing off the fans by not committing enough to the universe, to the extended universe, or alienating new audiences by committing too much to it. Or indeed, worst case scenario, ending up doing both of those things. Unfortunately, it kind of feels like we're leaning slightly more in the direction of doing both. Now, I've only seen Age of Ultron once. I am going to go see it again later today. Because it's I don't know, just Marvel have somehow got that trust in me that they deserve the benefit of the doubt. As it stands, I was fairly unimpressed. It's not a bad film, that's for sure. I think Marvel don't really do bad. Even their worst films are just kind of average and kind of messy. I mean, they've never done a bad film. They've never done a Batman and Robin, for example. They've never gone bad. But yeah, Age of Ultron was a little messy for me, and it just didn't wow me as, say, the first Avengers did, or Guardians of the Galaxy, which is one of my favourite films of all time at the moment. One of the issues here is that the rumour mill, as I was discussing in my previous video, all the rumours and things around in the film, turned out to not be true, but not in a, oh, something else is happening kind of way, just in a, actually nothing at all is happening kind of way. And that was kind of boring, I guess. A lot of the film, I guess, it didn't live up to the hype. So a lot of the really kind of cool fan theory ideas didn't happen, and instead all the stuff we knew was going to happen, if you were a fan who was into who knew these things, kind of happened, but that didn't quite work. It's probably easier to explain just with the examples. So we knew the Vision was going to be in the film, and yet his creation was played off as some major surprise. We knew that the twins were going to switch sides. But again, this was played off as some major plot point. We know that Thor and Iron Man and Captain America have all got future films to be in. So pretending that they're going to die is a complete waste of time. Although luckily the film doesn't linger on that point too much. It's just kind of mentioned like, oh, we're all going to die or whatever, and then it's thrown away quickly. But yeah, it's pointless pretending. It just kind of some of the focuses were a bit off. The rumour mill worked against them in this instance, I feel. Conversely, there was plenty of new stuff that wasn't rumoured, that we didn't know was going to happen. Obviously, it was rumoured that the Bruce Banner and Black Widow relationship was kind of hinted at. But there's actually there's a lot more of that than you probably have thought there would have been. They actually go a lot deeper into that. Hawkeye suddenly is a major character. I've never felt so much sympathy for Hawkeye before. I'd actually quite happily watch an entire movie about him now. Although I kind of feel like I almost did. So there's a lot that works, but it's all on the drama side of things. And the action beats and the major story and the Ultron storyline doesn't quite work. Oh yeah, Andy Serkis again. Andy Serkis appears in the trailer. If you don't know, well, you probably do know that. He appears in the trailer just as a single shot, and everyone's like, oh, what's this all about? And everyone figured that he looks like the Black Panther villain, the Claw, because that's what he kind of looks like in the trailer. And so we're like, oh wow, he's going to be in it. But he appears in such a minor way. It's actually there is something quite cool about what happens to him in the film. But he appears in such a minor way that him appearing in the trailer actually spoiled it. It would have been better if he'd just shown up in the film and then the fans got on, hey, I know who that guy is. But instead he was in the trailer, and now everyone knew who was going to be in the film, and he's such a minor character. Very, very, very minor character. There's like 2 scenes or something. That it just kind of if he hadn't been in the trailer, it would have been much cooler. I could do a whole video on how trailers ruin films. In fact, I probably will at some point. Let's get the good stuff out of the way. The action is great and the characters work brilliantly, although we already knew that. Some of the new characters have been criticised for being a little underused, and yes, that's true, but I still like them all. The new group dynamic of the Avengers working as a team works really well as well, and it's a welcome change from the slightly hodgepodge that they were in the Avengers. This works really well, even though one of the plot points is that it doesn't work so well, which doesn't quite tally together. It is after Scarlet Witch has been messing with everyone's heads, but again, it's not really expanded enough for that to filter into the plot. Ultron himself is a pretty cool villain. He works quite well. The trailers were went into for a darker tone. Everyone's like, "Oh, the Marvel's going to go a bit darker." Yeah, they do a bit, but not really. It doesn't really come across that way as much as as the trailers did. The trailers really painted that, but yeah, the film kind of comes off still as jokey and fun and whatever. Ultron is once they've got the AI running, Ultron basically is an AI who decides that the biggest threat to humanity is humanity, and people need to be protected from themselves by giving the planet a reset. Basically, he wants to take out the human race or just reset evolution, essentially. Or to quote Happy, the human part of the human resources is our biggest vulnerability. We need to start phasing it out immediately. So he's an AI that turns against humanity. It's not a particularly original plot idea, but it works really well in here. And he's oddly sympathetic. He seems to be genuinely have a number of genuine human emotions, and he feels quite betrayed when the twins turn against him, and he just is. There's something deeper about him, which is quite nice. This brings me to a point that actually bugs me in general about movies, especially big action movies. The world is not going to end. That is not a thing that can possibly happen in a film. That doesn't make any sense on any level. The world is not going to end. Humanity is not going to be wiped out. There is no tension in that for me. That doesn't strike me as a kind of a tense thing. I don't believe that your film's going to end that way. The reason The Dark Knight works so well is because it's very small scale. The Joker isn't trying to destroy the world, isn't trying to take over the world, he isn't even trying to take over Gotham. He doesn't have a grand plan. He just wants to hurt people. He's very small scale in the grand scheme of things. He's very small scale villain, and that's what makes him so tense. Is because he can do what he's doing. He can kill these people. He can murder the people on the ships or all the hostages or whatever. He can murder these people, and Batman's trying to stop him. And it's just as tough as if someone who's trying to blow up, Bane trying to nuke the city. He's had just as much trouble as the Joker is. Even the Joker, if anything, is worse because he's so small scale. He's much harder to sort of pin down. His plan's much harder to find, and that's where the tension is in the small scale. In the big scale, that we're gonna Man of Steel or this film or Avengers kind of works actually because Loki wants to enslave the planet. That kind of makes sense. That could sort of happen. But if nothing else, he's going to kill a lot of people in New York through this fight. So they've got to end the fight as quick as possible. But it's just one plan, and he's just going to wipe out humanity, and it's not going to happen. I don't believe for a second that it's going to happen. And as we've established, I don't really believe any of the Avengers are going to die. There is some tension. They do manage to get some tension in that, partly because they brought some of the smaller, not smaller, but the Avengers who don't yet have their own movies are brought more to the forefront in this. So you get tension there because you kind of think, oh, well, they could be vulnerable. They're not going to kill Iron Man or Captain America or Thor because they've still got movies to come out, but they could kill these guys. That could, and there is tension there. I won't give away who, if anyone, dies. But yeah, that's a spoiler. I'm not saying who. But yeah, I don't believe the threat to humanity, wiping out humanity, it just doesn't work for me in films in general. It's not tense. It's not. I just know it's not going to happen. One of the issues I have with the film is it kind of feels like the first half is missing. Despite the fact that the film is nearly 3 hours long, I think it does feel like we've suddenly jumped in too early. Now I actually like it jumps in really jumps straight into action scene, and I like that. Don't fanny about too long. Just get the Avengers out there doing their thing. Excellent. But it does feel a bit like we've missed some plot development here. As the film opens, we're given to understand that in the wake of the events of the Winter Soldier, the Avengers have reformed to take down Hydra, and they've been doing this consistently. And they are attacking the base of Strucker in the thing. Who remember as the guy with the monocle from the end of the Winter Soldier, who had Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch sort of held prisoner, or where he wasn't entirely explained. So we're left to assume that Captain America brought the Avengers back together in order to do this. However, I watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is pretty much all about what happened to S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra after the events of the Winter Soldier. And this has never, ever, ever, ever come up. Now, in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the reanimated Agent Coulson and his little group of people have pretty much single-handedly been taking down Hydra. And they've done a pretty good job, oddly enough. And curiously, in the newest episode, Strucker and the other guy's name, if I get him off the middle of my head, have just shown up as the villains, I guess. The villains who are going to become the villains for the end of that series. At least that's what's implied. Which means that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is actually taking place before Age of Ultron, even though it's still going on. It's taking place before, which is interesting. I don't know if this is because they screwed up their schedule and they wanted to finish Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. before Ultron came out, but they couldn't get the schedules together. Maybe that's the case. Or, what would be more interesting is if there's going to be big spoilers for Ultron as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. carries on, so they had to fit it in this way so that it didn't ruin the film, or at least it would make more sense if you've seen the film. Anyway, they're starting to tie in together, basically, is what I'm saying. However, because I am into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I'm using Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is keeping me up to date with the universe, essentially. The Avengers popping up as this sort of global phenomenon who are now taking out Hydra, that's come out of the blue for me. Second of all, we quickly learn that Tony Stark and Banner have been working on Ultron for a while. They've been trying to develop Ultron as an AI program to put into his little suits. He's created this little Sentinel army thing that helps him out, so that they can sort of police the world, I guess, and defend from whatever alien forces or whatever. I've been trying to do this for a little while. So when this started, again, isn't clear. He's been trying to do it in order so that the Avengers can retire, essentially. But again, we haven't really seen the Avengers doing all that much. Yeah, they came together in the Avengers, and they've had a few films since then, but the Avengers as a unit, we haven't seen them do anything. We've just been sort of told that they've been doing stuff. And to be honest, I'd like to have seen them doing stuff. I'd like to have seen them get back together and be like, we have a mission now. We are, S.H.I.E.L.D. is gone. We are all that there is. And then the Avengers doing things. And we've lost that. That's just gone. We've jumped from the creation of the Avengers, essentially, to the retirement of the Avengers. And with nothing in between. And that bugs me a little bit. That does bug me quite a lot, actually. But yeah. We seem to be missing that whole section of the story. During the opening scene, they are attacked by Quicksilver, and Captain America says, "We have an enhanced on the field." Like that's a thing that just happens now. There's no one questions it. No one thinks about it. We have an enhanced on the field, as if that's a term that we're supposed to be familiar with. That they're just superpower people cropping up all over the place, and that hasn't been the case yet, has it? When was that true? Thor has a tiny subplot that's as pointless as it is boring, and I kind of forgot about it until just a moment ago. It does pay off, and it does make a kind of sense, but it just get dragged away to it, and it just seems really unnecessary. Also, Nick Fury just shows up, and apparently everyone's okay with that. That's not a big deal at all. Everyone, I guess, just knows he's alive, so the point of faking his death becomes somewhat unknown. S.H.I.E.L.D. are, if anything, really bad at keeping secrets. Agent Coulson's death is really poorly kept secret in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. series. It's just that you wonder why they bother sometimes. As I say, I'm going to see Age of Ultron again later today, so I can formulate my thoughts, and I'm going to do a Marvel review, which will be me ranking the films in order. And I need to see Age of Ultron again before I can decide where exactly it's going to fit into there. But yeah, I wasn't blown away by it. I know a few of my geekier friends who also weren't blown away by it. It's getting positive reviews because it is a good film. It just isn't quite there for me. But I'm interested to see how Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to proceed now that it's slowly sort of tying in to the beginning of Ultron. I'm interested to see just how much earlier than Ultron is actually going to take place. Is there a gap between Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Ultron that's of a significant time, perhaps, where this Avengers period sort of fits in? Because there's literally no mention of the Avengers doing anything in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And it would logically come up, because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are basically all about tracking down the last remnants of Hydra. They're caught up in their own... It's getting quite complicated, actually, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's caught up in their own little internal struggles. But yeah, you'd think it would come up. Anyway, I'll move on. I don't want to keep this video too long. Initial thoughts on Age of Ultron, yeah, I'm obviously not that fussed on it. If it was outside of the Marvel franchise, if it was a film outside of the Marvel franchise, I think I'd be dismissing it just as forgettable. It's like, yeah, it's fine, chuck it aside. But it's a Marvel film, so I'm going to give it a second chance, probably a third chance, and probably more chances than that. And I'm going to get it on DVD almost certainly. It wasn't a bad, definitely wasn't a bad film. So I'm going to have to add it. I'm going to add it to my collection. But yeah. I can't help but feel that I'm being slightly generous to it because it's a Marvel film, and that's unfair, obviously. But yeah, I'm gonna have to see it again just to get a final firm opinion. Anyway, hope you stay tuned for my next video, which will be the big Marvel review, and we'll see where we stand there. After I've seen Age of Ultron a second time, we'll see where we stand. Thanks for watching. Do watch my previous videos, including the Marvel fuck up and the DC fuck up and all these other things that I've done. Like and subscribe, and find me on Twitter and Facebook and blah blah blah. All the links in the description below. I'm going to start trying to get these videos a bit more polished, so get like an intro and an outro going on. But yeah, thanks for watching. The end.